Welcome back. This is the last configuration video before we get busy writing code again, and I gotta think that all you students are going to be happy to finally get back to coding. What we're going to do here is two really easy bits of configuration. The first thing we're going to do is create an analysis template to generate our event frames. And remember, those event frames are really holding the state of a notification. And the second thing we're going to do is really a trivial step, just to have the analysis template feed into a notification rule template. So stepping back just a bit, the last thing we did immediately before this video was we created the event frame templates themselves. And remember, we created 3. So here I am on the tank low-level alert template. And I hope you recall that earlier I said that this alert, as well as the condition, we're going to be mapped by our analysis. It's a small bit of configuration on our part, but we're going to walk you through that. We really don't have to walk you through every step of the way, so let's just see what I've set up so far. I've taken the liberty, if we go to analysis templates, I've taken the liberty of already creating a couple, but I haven't checked them in yet. What I want to draw your attention to is, one, we always give a meaningful name, that it's for event frame generation. We select a example element, and then very importantly, we have to give it a template that was going to be used for when we generate these event frames. So in this case, we have a name of tank high level analysis, so it should be no surprise that we're going to use the tank high level alert template. For a trigger, I have a meaningful name too. The expression should always have some white space, make it readable to a human being. As you see, it will trigger for high, or high will trigger this, since either of those should trigger this. The other thing is where we said we're going to map things to the alert and condition. That requires clicking this Advanced Event Frame Settings button. We're going to click Trigger Settings. We're going to map the attribute. We're going to map it to alert. Now it's giving me a warning because I've already walked through this a few times and saying, hey, you've already kind of done this. So I'm going to click OK. You might, first time you see it, you're not going to get that warning. Same thing, we're going to map the condition here, or the trigger expression here. And I've got that. Now I'm going to do the same steps to the tank low level analysis. Its template is now, surprise, the tank low level alert template. The trigger, and now the expression is a little reversed. Now we're going to catch any low or low. We too will map, and we can select alert and condition again, but it's just saying, hey, you've kind of already mapped this. Now, if I were to check this in, these analyses would kick in and be started, and that's all fine and dandy, and you can see that because we have enable analyses. The trouble is we want to create a notification rule. So I'm not going to check in just yet. I'm just going to take all this energy to click this one button, and I will give a meaningful name. And there's nothing else for me to change here. The trigger and everything has been automatic for what we've done. I'm going to go ahead and use the vanilla subscription, and I really don't have to have this sent to anyone, although you probably would want that, but in our case, just to keep the example simple, I'm not going to have to send it to anyone. We did that for low. Let's do the same for high. Okay then, so now I am going to check this in. And when I do, you're going to see then that my analyses will be running and enabled. So those are just the templates. Let me switch now to the elements themselves. If we go to tank 1, you see the green check mark. So there they are. They're automatically running. And that's true for all 3 tanks. But we actually have 20 tanks in our tank farm. The beauty of using templates with AF is we only have to do a tiny bit more work to receive a big payout from our previous efforts. Let's see that in action by building out an element for tank 4. That would be under the tank farm. It's going to be a child tank. Now, those of you already familiar with Pi System Explorer know that PSE is going to try to guess what my next element name should be. We have blanks in our names, so I really need to have a tank blank 4. So because I've been playing around, I knew that 13 was going to be the next number up, but I'm going to do a blank and a 4. That makes the name correct. And now let's look at the attributes. The most critical thing you want to do here is review any of your PyPoints that are mapped and make sure that it's mapped to the correct name. Again, you'll see a tank and a blank 4 in there. If it does not have that blank, if it has the wrong number or whatever, just be sure to go to the attribute in question, right-click, and do a create or update PyPoint, in which case it's going to resolve it with the latest information, and you'll be good to go. So we're going to go ahead and make changes on that, save it. And if we click on the analyses, which we didn't touch before for tank 4, you'll now see that they're checked and running. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the screen, and I'm going to add the other tanks up through tank 20. So here we go. I've now completely built out my tanks 1 through 20, and all of these tanks now are enabled with these analyses just by creating the elements. And now before we really go to the next section, let's look at the fruits of our labor. So we've asked it to generate these event frames. Now some time has passed since I created these and have it run. And what we can do is we'll show you. If we want to take a look at the screen, as you can see, I have a lot of event frames here. Tank 6. Remember our naming pattern? We said use the element name, and that's tank 6, and then use the template name, which is tank low level alert. And if we take a look here at tank 16, let's look at its attributes. Remember, we have our starting level, so we were a little above 80% of being full when this triggered. That's what started this notification. If you take a look at its highest level, oh, it crept up there very high. We are showing its average level, right? We can show its worst state. Its worst state was it started at high, but it encroached into critical high territory. And then also remember we had this alert that we mapped. So it's the literal expression of high tank level. Condition, I don't know if I would ever include conditions in my event frames later, but I just wanted to show you what it did in case you were curious. But I do like this alert because I can post that in email messages. So there you go. This is what we see in PSE. So the next thing we're going to do is try to mimic the same thing in our own AF applet.